News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. In just a moment, we're going to get into KSM, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11, and two of his top lieutenants who are in Gitmo. Instead of getting the death penalty, the Biden administration chooses to allow him to get life in prison and his two top terrorists. And let me tell you something. He tried to pretend today like he had no say in it, but in fact he did. In fact, he objected to something they were doing with handling this case a year ago. So this is Joe Biden's name all over. He's the commander-in-chief. It's the military prosecutor. He can tell him whatever he wants. He can say, just give him a slap on the wrist, give him probation. He can do whatever he wants. He's in charge of the military. They answer to him. Anybody on the military payroll answers to him. He's the commander-in-chief. We'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to ask AJ in Arlington, who's from Nigeria originally. Of course, she's an American now. And we're grateful to have you, AJ, and thanks for holding. I just want to ask you one more question. You didn't have a problem, as you said, with Trump talking about Kamala. Is she black? Is she Asian? One of the things I want to ask you, though, you were saying she's not like Obama, Kamala, and I disagree. I'm not saying she is. She has nowhere. She can't be this man in any way, shape, or form. But she is the new iteration of him. Barack Obama's making her the new. She's trying to make her the new hope and change, and make African Americans feel special and turn out in droves like they did for him. And without having her do interviews or anything, he's hiding her because she's a failure when she interviews. It's terrible. And it always has been. It's not just once in a while. They're always bad. She just can't do a discussion. She's too incompetent or something of that nature. But I do believe they're trying to roll her out, and I think there's a chance you see some African Americans going nuts over this. Like they feel like this is the new version of Obama, and it's a woman, so it's a black female, so we got to get her in there, and they feel like it's a movement, and they're trying to brand it that way. What do you think about that?
So, Chris, first of all, is there anything in particular you can remember that Obama did for the blacks?
No. I really,
okay.
I mean, Trump did. He did prison reform. He did the First Step Act. He also released a lot of prisoners in conjunction with a project with Kim, what's her name, Kardashian.
Okay, can I tell you one of the things you remember him for in African countries?
Yeah.
His interest on homosexual, and of course. That's not American. These are African countries. They have their traditions. They still have it very much intact.
Mm-hmm.
So when you expect something, it's not what you expect. That's not what you get.
Right.
I think a lot of African countries, Africans, even Black Americans, they've passed Obama era. That's the absolute truth.
They despised, you said, the Obama era?
They've passed it. Obama came, Obama is gone. It doesn't matter who is bringing forward the interest of every American, which includes black, white, brown, is to be successful, is to live the American dream.
Right.
It's where the economy is thriving. It's having a safe America. I don't know if I'm communicating. There are a lot of things Trump can run on, say of the personal things, and just continue addressing the major issues. If you're looking for Black Americans, African Americans, stay on family values and faith.
Yeah, family values and faith, yeah.
Yes. And, of course, the economy. And, of course, the jobs. He's saying all the right things, maybe not presenting them well. So, like you said rightly tonight, honestly, you've been. I don't know if you're scared of the hype of Kamala. Tonight, you said the right thing. Her bubble will burst in a few days.
I really do think there's no way this grossly incompetent, inept woman. And, I mean, so many things are coming out little by little. The L.A. Times did a sweeping piece on her 5 years ago. Harassment and retaliation claims during Kamala Harris's time as California's top cop led to $1.1 million in settlements. We have about 3 or 4 more that came up today, brand new ones, and they're going to pour in because there's really bad ones out there. Kamala, wait. Let's go to, I have a list of them, like a bunch of new headlines here. It gets buried in my stack of stuff here. And they're not good. Give me a second. I got too many papers out here. I got lots of stories. But here it is. Kamala Harris says she rescued struggling California homeowners today in the Wall Street Journal. The reality is more complicated. Basically, she's like, look, I did this settlement for $20 million against the big banks that were screwing people over, but they actually said at the time she said the relief. The banks, including J.P. Morgan and Bank of America, wanted to offer $3 billion, but Harris secured pledges for a much larger award after threatening to take the banks to court. At the time, the Journal said today in this large piece, Harris said the relief would ensure homeowners actually see a benefit that would allow them to stay in their houses. But here's what really happened, says the Journal. The banks offered $18 billion with a B in mortgage debt relief plus $2 billion in refinancing and transition assistance for the homeowners in the state. Harris's office wanted to use most of those funds for mortgage principal reductions. The banks, though, it just gets this ultimately short sales where the banks, though, could deliver their debt relief through a variety of means. In many cases, instead of helping people, the banks opted to write off the mortgages of homes that the owner already abandoned. They weren't in it anymore. So they wrote off that mortgage, and no individuals, the bank profited. So, oh, yeah, we'll give you $18 billion. Kamala's like, look what I did. And here we go. Ultimately, short sales, which is that, they're out of the house, you sell it for short, and, you just cut your losses and sell it, but there's nobody in the house, accounted for more than half of her relief package. So half of every dollar she said was going to help people stay in their homes was not. They were already out of them, and the bank sold it to make its profits back. So, I mean, that's it. Here's another one. Blame it on Kamala Harris. VP gave lenient plea deals to murderers, domestic abusers as DA. And I'll give more details on that tomorrow. Here's another one. Flashback. And I've got the audio here. You're going to love this. Flashback. Kamala Harris fumed at Americans for saying Merry Christmas before illegals got their protections. And let's see if I have it here. Hold on a second. Yeah, here we go.
And when we all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas, these children are not going to have a Merry Christmas. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
Until illegals get amnesty, you can't say Merry Christmas because she cares about illegals before Americans. There's so much of this that's worse that's going to come out every day, as you said, and you're hinting to. Yeah. So... yeah, you can't hide it, but she'll hide. She's hiding. I appreciate your call tonight, AJ. God bless you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. My thinking is in order to take Kamala down, just unleash a few females to go after her.
That's brilliant.
Tulsi Gabbard. Just look for, what's her name? The other lady that competed with her last presidential cycle.
Tulsi Gabbard eviscerated her in a debate. It was embarrassing. Yeah. And then there was another woman you said that beat the crap out of her in a debate?
It's Tulsi. So, I mean, what I'm saying is just unleash women on her. They're actually women of color.
Yes.
Who can take her down in the Republican Party.
Can't call him a racist.
Yeah. You see, and just isolate Trump from the personal.
Yes. Dude, you're...
let Trump stay on a issue.
You're spot on. And for J.D. Vance... one of the things the Wall Street Journal editorial board recommended is get his wife, his beautiful Indian-American wife, out there on the stage with them a lot. And have her speak, too. And then you focus on that, and it's hard to hide the man and call him a racist or a white nationalist when his wife is freaking from India. So, amen. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
What has she done besides being politics?
Nothing. Nothing. She before she graduated law school, first of all, Trump was right. When she took the bar, she failed it on the first try. Second of all, she had a job before she passed the bar, and she had a job before she even graduated law school with the Alameda County District Attorney's Office. She has a silver spoon up her rump from the very moment she was born. Her father was a well-off professor I think at UC Berkeley, or no, he was a cancer researcher. Her dad was I think an economist with UC Berkeley, and then from Jamaica, and her mom was a cancer researcher, or vice versa. She grew up in privilege and wealth. She also spent time growing up in Canada, and so yeah, so and then she went from that she got the DA job over at what was it? I think San Francisco, where she put 1,500 black men in jail for smoking weed. And then when she was interviewed about on a black show a couple years ago when she was running for president about weed and did you ever smoke it, she laughed and said yes. This is coming from a woman who destroyed 1,500 black men's records for smoking weed. As she laughed about it, she gets to do it. So that's who this woman is. She also refused to give evidence that would set a man on death row in California free. She refused to until the state Supreme Court of California ordered that woman to provide the evidence to set that man free. And how much you want to bet the guy's probably black? I don't know. She is an opportunist who does not care about blacks and Indians.
She kept some guys a little longer in prison because they were looking for cheap labor.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. In California, as the DA, is it state attorney general, or was it as the DA of San Francisco? Yes. No, I think it was the DA of the state attorney general. She kept a lot of prisoners purposely in jail for a lot longer so they can get free, cheap state labor in the prisons. That's exactly right. That was another thing she did.
The majority of them were black guys.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Where is this race coming from? What has she done for the black race?
She has oppressed them and repressed them and subverted them to stay in office and to look good for the elite whites in California. That's what she's done. That is exactly what she done. And Willie Brown, the guy who she had an affair with while I was married, bought her a BMW and lots of other things. It was that came out the other day. I mean, that was from when this came out, like earlier in her career. She was feted and given all this stuff by this wealthy, one of the most powerful Democrat politicians in the state. He bedded down with her in wedlock when he was married, and then he started blessing her with jobs, and she started getting all these jobs. So that's some of the stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And Montel Williams dated her, and he doesn't endorse her for president. He said he wished there was somebody else he mentioned that he wanted for president. It wasn't her. All right, brother. Thanks for your call. You were a good little co-host for a little bit tonight. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Take care, brother. All right, 800-288-WBAP. Next, I want to get into 9/11. And the terrorists not given the death penalty. If you think Joe Biden didn't have a say in it, like he said today, he's lying. I'll play the audio from ABC News that really kind of gave it away today that I cut. And what is your reaction to the terrorist mastermind's plea deal? They're not going to be put on the death penalty. And how much sway should these victims' families have in the decision for the death penalty versus life in prison? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Chris Krok Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. Now on FM at 93.3. I forgot I have another bonus piece of audio for Kamala, the cackler. Here she is being a limousine liberal living four-star luxury on her campaign's dollar and being investigated and reported by the news when she was in California.
Last year, Harris was the target of reports by the National Journal and Orange County Register, which documented what they called her lavish spending from her campaign fund accounts on luxurious hotels, luxury car services, and first-class airfare. The Hill, an online government news site, quoted former aides as saying she treats the campaign fund like a personal checking account to fund a life of luxury. Should it raise questions in the public mind about, if you're a senator, how you would look at money spending, which is always an issue in Washington?
There were issues that we needed to address early in my campaign around correcting course, which we did, and I'm very proud of the work we did in that regard.
So this was your campaign manager, I believe, who was replaced, right?
There was a lot of restructuring that we did, and it needed to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So problem solves?
I believe so, yes.
So she's traveling in luxury and going in first class and 5-star luxury or whatever, 4-star luxury, anyway, whatever it is. And her campaign people say she's living high on the hog and it's her fault. And she says, I'm proud of my work. That's what all the Democrats do. Like, I'm very proud. Or like Joe Biden, I'm proud of my son. Yeah. You know, it's like when you mess up, you're proud of your work. So that way you're like, what do you mean? You're the one. What's wrong with you? I'm proud. So classic Classic. So be careful if you donate to her. You might be helping her live the high life. Now, I think for us to appreciate just how bad this is, the fact that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and his top 2 lieutenants are not going to be put to death for killing 2,900 what's the exact number here? 2,976 people. I think we have to go back to what happened, where we were and what it was like. And I'm not going to bore you with that, but I'm going to tell you this. Because we don't appreciate how big of a deal this is that he didn't get sentenced to death and these other 2. And it's a big deal because think about this. I'm gonna just tell you one story to take you back. We have to go back to then to remember what it was like to see men and women jumping out of the 95th story and their skirt blowing up as they went to their deaths, flying down at God knows how fast, or a man in the suit with his arms straight down. We had the pictures in our head right now. And my friend is a federal officer, and he was on my show twice, and he told his story. I'll give it to you in 30 seconds. He, at the time, was stationed right across from the World Trade Center, and it was when they were hit. He went across, he called his wife from the lobby on a payphone, remember those? And he left her a voice message on the answering machine because she wasn't there. Honey, I'm on the base of the tower. I'm fine. Do not worry. I'll see you tonight. And then it collapsed, and as it did, he was just outside. He ran, and the debris was right behind him, and stuff was falling. He was going to go under a car, but he chose to keep going, and that car was crushed when he later walked by it. As this cloud and the debris encircled him, he saw a light to his left, which is an alleyway, which didn't get filled up right away. He ran to it. A woman opened the back door of a restaurant or something, and she let him in. And it's one of his God stories. And he shared it with us twice on this station, on my show about 5, 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And when he couldn't get home, remember, they couldn't get anywhere off the island. They couldn't get off Manhattan, get across the river. So they had the ferry take him across, and he finally went home on the ferry. And he arrived at his Brooklyn apartment where his wife was waiting. She thought he was dead, as you would imagine. He was in the tower, and he left a message, I'm fine. I'm in the base of the tower. The bottom of his soles of his shoes were melted completely. His pants were burnt up to about 6 to 8 inches of his pants were burnt all the way up, like 10, 12 inches or so up. And that's when he arrived at home. Okay? And there are officers whose husband, the one single officer, a female officer who died, her husband said, this is a kick in the you-know-whats. He said the word. And, people that are relatives said this is of cops and everything say it's horrifying and angering. I'm going to tell you why the death penalty is right. I'm going to play a piece of audio from ABC News today that shows Joe Biden does control. He's the commander-in-chief, and he does control what they do in this, and he's lying today saying he couldn't control it. That's a lie. All that next, and Kamala Harris is very anti-death penalty, even for cop killers in California. That's also on her record. That's next on the Chris Krok Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. All right, so Biden, being the commander-in-chief, could tell the JAG officers or whoever's in charge of prosecuting the case against Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who killed 2,976 people, including folks that were on American Airlines flights and flight attendants or attendants from American. We have the memorial here that I'm really proud that we have here. And here's a piece of audio that was very telling that I pulled from an ABC News report today on this.
Last fall, President Biden rejecting a set of demands that had formed the basis of plea negotiations. Now, the White House says the president played no role in this deal, reached instead by those military prosecutors. Biden now directing his aides to consult with Pentagon lawyers about it.
So he's telling them to consult with lawyers. A year ago, he refused a plea deal, but yet he's not in charge of the decision not to do a death penalty. That's completely false. I mean, in the same sentence there, she says, last year he got involved and stopped something, and this year he says he can't do it. Wow. Anyway, no, dude, disgrace. Now, so I was telling you the story, and I think we all need to remember how bad 9/11 was. And you know it, and I know it, but we talk about it so much that it's like, whatever, because it's been 24 years. I know it's not whatever, but I'm still saying we can really be blasé or pass over us the depth and the meaning and the tragedy and the horror and the terror that was unleashed on us. And this needs to be death penalty. Death penalty is not ever done out of revenge. It's not ever done for recidivism, to scare people away from committing the crime. It doesn't do that. It doesn't help stop recidivism. It doesn't help. It's not cheaper, and it doesn't prevent anything. The death penalty is righteous and correct because it is justice. And when the people have decided that that case is death penalty worthy and they are convicted of that offense, it is on the option as a punishment. That's what it is. It's a punishment. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing that's wrong with it, and it's certainly okay, and it's justice. And justice is to put these three to death. And it's very telling that they made a plea deal because they didn't want to die because they're cowards. And that's why they should be put to death. My questions for you is, what's your reaction to the terrorist mastermind's plea deal today? Lifetime in jail, no death penalty. And how much sway should the victims' families have in the decision for the death penalty versus life in prison? Because I will tell you, some of the victims' family members did not want death. They said, I prefer, throw them away, lock them up, put them in the jail, and let them sit forever. But I'm going to remind you of our local case that I always refer to. I don't do it too often, but I do from time to time. It's so important. Do you remember NFL, I should say Cowboys star Josh Brent? When he took his buddy, they went to a champagne stripper place, and he loaded up on tons of champagne. He got into his BMW with his friend. He would never play the day as a Cowboy. He was on the practice squad. And he drove his car at 100 and some odd miles per hour in a 40 or something like that, or a 60, I don't know what. And he flipped it, and he killed his best friend, the practice squad guy. Practice squad guy, his mom flew down from St. Louis and said, please don't put him in jail. He's suffered enough. He's my son's best friend. I know he feels horrible. And that's why I've said to you, I've almost yelled it because I'm so passionate about it. You don't get to decide what the punishment is. I don't care. I mean, look, I do care. Like, I think victim impact statements and sharing and letting the jury weigh that into the decision is fine. But they do not make the decision, and they never should. Sometimes they want to do too much. Sometimes they want to do too little. It is up to the sober jury with the laws of the state or federal laws to make that decision because they ain't involved. They follow the law, and they adjudicate appropriately. And you can trust the jury system most of the time, unless it's in Manhattan against Trump. But they can be heard, and they can have an impact statement, and a judge or jury can decide. But that is not it, because most of the people want death. It's not about that. You know the reason why I'm so animate about the Josh Brent thing, though, is because, listen, ma'am, it may be your son that's been killed, but you don't live here. I do. And Josh Brent's going to drink and drive again because he got busted for it in Illinois. He got his license suspended and taken away. Josh Brent's going to kill me or my wife or my son. Tonight, my son's coming home from Japan. I've been telling you about him on and off for months. I'm so proud of him. I love him so much. Dad's heart aches. And he gets to see him tonight when I get home. I'm so happy and so excited. I love my boy. And you're not going to, Josh Brent, you ain't going to be free on the streets because you ain't going to kill my son or my daughter or my wife or my son's fiance or me. Get off our roads and go to jail where you belong. And that's why the victims' family members should not make the decision ever. Now, I want to get to the boxing story because it's so big. This boxer is a man. In fact, the World Boxing Association kicked him out of the competition this past year because he has an XY chromosome. He's a man. He's not a woman. He's a man. And I'm not trying to be mean, disrespectful, I'm not picking on transgender or whatever intersex people. This guy's intersex, apparently. But you are not a woman. You're a man. When he took off that protective thing over his head. He's got a man's face, and he's got man muscles. The fact is that God made men and women differently. Men's lung capacity is much greater than a woman. Hence, they can inhale much more oxygen and get more oxygen into their blood, oxidize the blood faster, which makes their heart and everything work faster and harder and pump more. They have more muscle mass. They have more bone density. They can destroy a woman. And what we saw was a man punch a woman in the face. We saw a man, a grown bleep man, punch a woman in the face. And by the way, I want you to look at my Twitter feed. You should follow me on Twitter. It's also on Instagram, Facebook. It's the same Twitter handle. It's the same handle. At Chris Krok Show. ChrisKrok. That's at Chris Krok Show. You go there right now on my Twitter feed, and you will see that this man who punched a woman in the face, afterwards, it looked like he was patting her on the stomach to comfort her. He grabbed her breast. He grabbed her breast. He put his hand in a cup and grabbed her right breast. And you watch it, and it's a 8-second long. It's the first version is fast. We all saw that. We thought he was patting her in the stomach, like it's okay. But then when they play that for 2 seconds and then they replay it slow, you see him put his hand cupped on her breast. He grabs her breast. And I think that this woman says it right who did this and put it out there, and you can see it yourself on my Twitter feed, at Chris Krok Show. He wouldn't settle for beating her up. He had to sexually assault her as well. He's not a competitor. He's a predator, and that's exactly right. In Algiers, which is in North Africa, it's surrounded by terrorist nations. The Islamic Republic of Mauritania, which we don't even allow the illegals in here except for Joe, and all of them are flagged because it's a terrorist-friendly nation. It's a terrorist nation. The Islamic Republic of Mauritania. There's no Islamic country that doesn't have a terrorism problem or support terrorism and hate Jews and hate women and hate men that look like women. Now, he's also surrounded by Morocco, another Muslim nation, and I think it's Niger or Libya, and there's one other one. It's like this is like terrorist haven and radical Islam haven and Muslim haven. They don't like transgender men. And I think the country is like Russia, in China, where they're like, find us an oaf woman who's a woman, but she's like a freaking ogre from these hairy Russian women we see in the competitions. She's like an ogre from Siberia, and you conscript her into being an Olympic athlete, and you train her up, and because she's a monster. I mean, she's not a monster. She's probably a decent person, but she's like, I don't want to do it. You will do this or you will be jailed. Okay, I'm an Olympian. You will do it for state. Okay, and they give them some stuff. Sometimes they get caught cheating all the time in Russia, particularly, and China, but particularly Russia. Do you don't think that Russia would take a man and say he's a woman? You don't think that Algiers, I would assume they're a Muslim nation. I'll check during the next time out here in a sec. But you don't think Algeria, which is probably a Muslim nation, you wouldn't get hanged and killed for being a transgender dude? Maybe it's not the case there, but it's incredibly doubtful. We know that our friends in Palestine, the Queers for Palestine movement, they hang anybody that's gay from a crane. Google it. You'll see tons of videos of it. They kill you if you're gay. And we got these fool idiot Kamala voters who are saying Queers for Palestine. You're an idiot. They would hang you. Some of these clowns are doing their stuff from the overpass on 75 coming in every day today, this week. Those people would be hung right from that rafter if they were gay for on display for the Palestinians they support. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. Okay, I want your call on the boxer thing, the transgender, the man who's a boxer who punched a woman in the face. You're going to hear, I'm going to play you her audio. She wept. Her father's dead, and the encouraging stuff he gave her, and she showed a video of him and wept deeply after she told him after he said what she said, and she said, my father told me this, and I did. And it was, we saw her get punched in the face and then fall down to her knees. And they said her nose might be broke from that man punching her in the face. And did you know that she was accused by the Paris Olympic people of being transphobic because she wouldn't let a man punch her in the face and she gave up after 46 seconds because she thought he broke her nose and he was too powerful. She'd never been punched in the face like that. It was a man. It's a grown man. My question, and by the way, Trump wisely said this today. Ready? And this is very, very true. He said Kamala supports Olympic fighter defeating female boxer in 46 seconds. And she does. She likes this. She loves this. She wants to put you in jail or take away your license and force you to do these things. And if you won't, in fact, the guy she's going to most likely announce as her vice presidential candidate on Tuesday, Josh Shapiro, he signed on to a policy in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, where he's governor, that forced counselors, you could not, if you were against this, it forced them to do it or they would go after your license. So he is absolutely going to make your daughter a girl or a boy, or a boy a girl, and if you don't like it, or your counselor doesn't like it because it's wrong and it's abusive, you're going to lose your license and livelihood from him. And the other thing is, another thing that Kamala and them support, it was just held back on a decision by the courts, federal courts, but they supported these. Actually, I'll share it with you coming up next. It was on the transgender stuff and drugs, and how it causes depression, and they ignored it and they shoved it through. I'll tell you about that next. Chris Krok Show, WBAP. All right, this also buttresses what I was saying. I think the fix is in. This guy is supposed to be transgender. From Algeria. It is an Islamic republic, and it says right here on the leftist, Trump-hating, Republican, conservative-hating Wikipedia, according to the International Lesbian and Gay Association's May 2008 report, both male and female types of same-sexual acts are illegal in Algeria. Homophobic attitudes are normalized within Algerian society, and LGBT people are commonly subjected to discrimination and potential arrest. It's illegal to be gay. And you're going to tell me some dude strutting around, he's transgender? No. This is a game. The World Boxing Association kicked him out because he's got an X and Y chromosome. He's not a trans person. Whatever, you can call it that. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not attacking him. I'm not trying to disrespect him. I'm just telling you the truth. He's got an X and Y chromosome. He's a man. God made him a man. And it's not to be mean. It's just to be truthful. Everybody is to be loved, cherished, and respected, no matter who they are or what they believe in or what their sexual preferences are or what their pronoun preferences are, all this stuff. However, he's a man, and he has an XY chromosome. That's why the World Boxing Association said, no, you're a man, you can't punch women in the face and call it a sport. My question for you to chime in at, right now, lines wide open for you at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. How should female athletes, including our young daughters, react to hearing they're going to be competing with a man? And how do you think it can be stopped? And how do you feel about a man being able to knock out a woman at the Olympics as we see her dreams taken from her? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I would tell my daughter she would make her own decisions, whether high school, middle school, or college, or adult for Olympics. I would not try to force her to do anything, never. But I would suggest, honey, my suggestion is you and as many of your teammates as you can discreetly ask should do what the girls did in West Virginia in middle school. They, for a shot put event against a trans boy, they refused to compete with them, and they just respectfully came into the meet with a uniform, and each time they were supposed to go up and do the shot put or discus or whatever the thing was, they went up, they took a quick knee and took the position and then walked off. Respectfully, they weren't rude or anything. They went up, took a knee, and then went out. That's their way of appearing and not participating. And that's what they need to do. Because if no women compete with a man can never hurt a woman and physically, and a man can never steal a woman's hard work. And if that starts happening, this will end. And people say, well, trans people should be in their own trans league. That's fine with me. Or you just say, hey, you can say you're a man. That's fine. You can wear a skirt when you're a man and say you're a woman. That's fine. But you have to be with your biological sex. And I don't care if you're taking hormones. I don't care about any of that stuff. You need to play with your biological sex. It just is what it is. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You can call us homophobic. That's what this country needs to do. And that's what parents and that's what women and girls need to do. Stand up. This is disgusting. It's filth. The best meme on the Olympics right now is what is on my Twitter feed and on my Facebook page at Chris Krok Show. It's on my Instagram too, at Chris Krok Show, ChrisKrok, because share it, you'll love it. It literally encompasses all of this, mocking Christianity with the Last Supper, and I'm not mad about it. That's what you do to the truth. That people are threatened by truth. They're not threatened by false religions and false gods, so they come after ours because they feel threatened by it. That's their problem, not mine. So. But that's what this is. A man punched a woman in the face. Okay, coming up next on the Chris Krok Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. The prisoners released in Russia. Is Biden trying to set the table for Kamala to act like they've actually achieved something in the last 4 years? And are you okay trading legitimate criminals with innocent hostages? By the way, as we're speaking right now, the hostages freed are coming off their plane, and they're deplaning, and they're shaking people's hands. No word on whether Joe is looking at his watch constantly, like when the 13 soldiers he killed came home in caskets, and he kept looking at his watch. Remember that? And it was documented. The Associated Press and all the other major news agencies photographed it and confirmed it, and including the Gold Star family members whose sons and daughters were killed confirmed it as well, and they said they were disgusted by it. And then he comforted them by saying, I know what it's like. My son's I'm a Gold Star dad. And they're like, no, you're not. Your son died from brain cancer, the most common kind of brain cancer, 3 years after he came back from Iraq, and he didn't die from Iraq. So there you go. That's coming up next, though. Evan Gerskovich, Wall Street Journal reporter, talking to some people on the tarmac right now.